Okay, I've managed to repair this thread. I actually found a longer bolt because the thread goes a long way down into the body, so I've got around it another way until I get myself a helicoil kit and I can do it correctly. It's an odd size thread, it's 8-32, so it's not something I have in stock. So continue with the rebuild of the carburettor. All new plates are fitted. I've put some fuel in the top of the chamber here so that when we do the blow off again, once the carburettor is complete, it'll be consistent with what we did while the carburettor was apart, and there's a good reason for that. So that's a little filter we put on, new gasket, and of course a brand new Ibea component. So the blow-off was 10 before, and it held 8. So now we have to make sure it's the same. The reason being that we have to make sure that the diaphragm, which is the metering diaphragm, which was the black gasket with a bulb on it, hasn't influenced the pressure in the carburettor. So we need to make sure that it's the same as what it was before. And it is. It's the same. It's blowing off at 10. And it's stopped leaking back at 9, so I'm very happy with the way this carburettor is sealing. So that's very good. So we can put our jets in now. The low jet and the third jet are the same, and these jets aren't damaged. There's no evidence of any damage on the jet, so we can go ahead and put those back in. Low jet's always closest to the engine, so we can put the low jet in. And what we're going to do is we're going to close the jets very gently against the seat. So you should never ram it closed, or else you'll damage the hole in the drillings in the carburettor. You don't want to flare the hole out. So very gently close that. So I've got all 3 jets closed now, so we've got to pump the carburettor up and make sure that it doesn't leak, and it is leaking through the low jet. Wasn't closed enough. So this carburettor is leaking through one of the jets, and I think it's the low jet. Okay, so I've closed it nicely now, and that's closed. So I've pumped that up to 14 psi, and it's holding pressure fine. The gauge is telling me that it's not leaking. So if I open the low jet, that's allowing the air to pass through there now. So if I close that, we know that that seals. So if I pump it up again, it's at 14. Open the high jet. I can see that my gauge is telling me that that's coming through, so it's allowing that to work. And we'll do the same with the third jet. Okay, so all those jets are working correctly. So if I pump this up, I can see that there's no leaks. So I'm going to set the low jet first. We know that that's closed at that point. Half, 1, 1 1/4. I'm going to run this on a reed valve engine. And 1 1/4 on the high jet as well. And on the third jet, we're just going to set that to 1/4. Now we're also going to check to make sure that the metering diaphragm is hovering at the right height above the lever. No failure. So it's holding 9 psi now. So there's a little hole here which is the breather for the diaphragm. So if I just blow in there, the gauge will then drop down because I'm putting pressure on the top of the diaphragm, which is pushing down on the lever. And it's working correctly. I can see the pressure drop in the gauge. So that's the Ibea carburetor rebuilt and ready to go.